Hi guys, welcome to another lesson. For today's video, we are going to discuss about physical geology. Now, this is an introduction to our major topic, which is Earth and space, a field of science. So, the present is the key to the past. Anong kayang ibig sabihin natin? Comment mo below. Okay. This is just a hint kung ano yung mga i-discuss natin dito. Our topics for today: how do compounds form? What is mineral? Primary physical properties of a mineral. Mineralogy, that is the study of minerals. How do compounds form? Ito ba yung mga tinatanong mo sa sarili mo pag may nakikita kang isang substance? Ano nga ba? So, introduction. Chemical bonding. The physical phenomenon of chemical substance being held together by attraction of atoms. So, yung chemical bonding, hindi lang siya sa chemistry, no? Meron din dito sa Earth and space. Topic natin sa field of science. Kasi yung chemical bonding, malaki yung role niya dito. Kasi yung tinatanong natin kung paano na-form yung isang compound. Kung ano ba yung isang compound. So, assuming hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung isang compound. So, mamaya din-discuss natin. Element. Type of matter made up only one kind of atom. Element. So, narinig mo na ba yung element? Element is in fact yung nakikita natin sa periodic table of elements. That is, we have here hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and so on. Atoms. Atoms are the smallest unit of matter that retain the properties of elements. So, when I say the smallest unit, ibig sabihin, hindi siya nakikita through naked eyes. Kailangan mo ng certain type of devices para makita yung mga ito. Did you know there are approximately 90 naturally occurring elements which are listed in the periodic table? An atom is composed of electron, proton, and neutron. What is proton? Proton are positively charged. They determine the identity of an element. It is the number of protons that define an element. So, ito yung positively charged na. Kasi na-discuss natin kanina kung ano yung isang atom. Di ba sinabi natin yung atom are the smallest units of matter. Tapos meron pa yung atom composed of 3 major parts: proton, electron, and neutron. So, imagine, hindi mo to makikita through naked eyes. In fact, madaming theory kung paano i-arrange yung proton, electron, and neutrons. Meron mga plum pudding theory, at kung ano-ano pang mga theory. Meron yung kay Rutherford's theory, meron yung mga gold foil theory. In fact, madaming pinagdaanan to kung paano ba, ano ba itsura ng proton, electron, tsaka neutron sa loob ng isang atom. Talagang itsura nila, position nila. Electron are negatively charged and are located outside the nucleus in a region called the electron cloud. These electron cloud can be thought of as being made of layers or shells. Sa loob ng isang atom, there is this proton and there is this electron, and inside the atom there is an invisible ring, as what I call it, an invisible ring which holds a certain number of electrons. Ito yung plum pudding model ni forgot ko sinong scientist. Plum pudding model, pero kulay yung theory niya. Kaya merong isang scientist na nagdagdag na yung electrons in for your information is merong mga certain levels of rings, yung mas malapit sa nucleus, tapos meron hanggang sa papalayo hanggang sa dun sa pinakalas na ring na isang electron cloud. Neutrons are not charged, they are neutral. The number of neutrons in an atom's nucleus can vary without changing the identity of an element. Neutron and proton can be found in the center of the nucleus. So we have, instead of an atom, we have a nucleus. Nucleus is located at the center. Inside the nucleus is proton and neutron. On the outside, surrounding ng nucleus is electrons. Isotopes. When an element has atoms with different numbers of neutrons, these atoms are called isotopes. So to determine whether if that atom is an isotope, ito yun, no? Titignan mo yung number of neutrons. Every atom has different number of neutrons, and that's why they are called isotopes. Valence electron. The electrons occupying the outermost layer are called valence electrons. So, valence electrons, sinabi ko kanina, an atom has these invisible rings which the electrons are located, and in fact, meron silang levels of level 1, 2, 3, and the outermost layer of that ring is called valence electron. Compound. A compound is made of two or more elements in a fixed constant ratio. So, yung compound, alam natin kung may element. What if I have a carbon and an oxygen? A carbon is a one element. An oxygen is a one element. What if I say I wanted a bond between one carbon element and two carbon element, and then nag-combine silang dalawa, merong bonding na nangyari, tapos yung nabuo dun, nabuo is carbon dioxide, diba? Kasi CO2. Ang CO2 is not an element anymore. It is called compound. Minerals. There are important chemical bond found in minerals. One is hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds do not cause individual atoms to stick together to form compounds. Rather, hydrogen bonds are forces that hold molecules together. Kaya siya nasa unang-una types ng chemical bonds na i-discuss ko, because hydrogen bond is naiiba sa dalawang types ng chemical bond. Hindi siya yung nagkukos ng atom para magdikit. Rather, siya yung force para mag-hold. So, hindi siya magdidikit ng atoms, pero mag-hold siya ng atoms, ng molecules. Where ionic bonds, valence electron can be transferred between atoms. As electrons are transferred, one atom will lose one or more of its valence electrons, and another atom will receive or gain these electrons. When atoms gain or lose electrons, they form particles called ions. So when I say I have an oxygen atom, this oxygen atom is unstable because it only have 7 electrons. Then I have another element that has 3 electrons. I need to transfer 1 electron from element A to element B. So, ibig sabihin, element A loses electron. So, what if, let's say element A has 3 electrons and 3 protons. And element B has 7 electrons and 7 protons. Let's say, that's for example. So, nag-transfer ako ng isang electrons from element A to element B. So, meaning, element A loses 1 electron. That means, it has 2 electrons and 3 protons. For element B, gained electrons, which is now 8 electrons and 7 protons. That means element A is a positively charged element, and element B is a negatively charged element. It's because of the transfer of electrons. Mas madami na yung electrons ni element B kaysa kanina kasi pantay lang sila, 7-7. Tapos si element A naman, mas madami yung protons niya kasi nawalan nga siya ng isang electron. So that is what you call ionic bonds. Opposite attracts. Magkaiba na yung charge nila. Element A is negatively charged and element B is positively charged. So they attract. So nagkakaroon sila ng ionic bonds. Covalent bonds is somewhat like ionic bonds, but covalent bonds occur from between two nonmetals. Since nonmetals tend to gain electrons and two elements joining together can both gain electrons, nonmetals must share their valence electrons in order to form bonds. When atoms share electrons in covalent bonds, they form molecules. So, kanina, ion yun. Opposite attracts. Ito naman sa covalent bonds, mas mahirap to. Ano ba yung mga non-metal na element? We have nitrogen. We have hydrogen, especially mga noble gases, which are in the last part of our period sa periodic table of elements. Those are when you look at the periodic table of elements, our elements is divided by one of the category is non-metals, metals, noble gases, and so on. So check your periodic table of elements. Ionic bonds. So when I mentioned kanina, we have negatively charged element and positively charged element, and those elements has a certain name. Cation. When an atom loses electron, it loses negatively charged electrons without losing any positively charged protons. Ito yung nangyari kanina, kumbaga si element A, nag-lose siya ng electrons, pero hindi naman naggalaw yung protons niya. So, isa siyang positively charged na element, and it is called cation. While sa element B, nag-gain siya ng electrons, so, which makes the number of her electrons more pa kaysa sa number ng kanyang protons. So, naging negatively charged element siya, which is called an ion. Molecular compounds. Molecular compounds is under covalent bonds. Molecular compounds, when an atom share electrons in covalent bonds, they form molecules. So, kanina na-mention natin yung molecule, no? A molecule is a group of atoms bonded together covalently. Thus, covalently bonded atoms form molecular compounds. Ito yung mga example ng molecular compounds. And as you notice, non-metal sila. We have water, which has hydrogen and oxygen. We have nitrogen dioxide, which has nitrogen and 2 oxygens. Nitrogen, oxygen, we have something like that. Organic compounds. Organic compounds are those compounds that contain carbon atoms and are frequently found in living things. In fact, your body is chock full of compounds made with carbon. So, ito yung this is a common element na nade-determine ng mga estudyante. Aside from oxygen, we have carbon. Madidetermine mo kung organic compound yan if merong carbon atoms na present. Kanina kasi walang present na carbon atoms dito eh. Hydrogen lang, oxygen, nitrogen. So, pag may carbon atoms na, that is called organic compounds. Now, what is mineral? So, ito yung pie chart ng elements at ilang percent sila sa pie. So, yung silicon natin, no? Dami din. 28.2%. Minerals are everywhere. In fact, scientists have identified more than 4,000 minerals in Earth's crust, although the bulk of the planet is composed of just a few. So, sinabi ko kanina, no? Kung observant ka lang, kung alam mo, in fact, after this lesson, try to check your surroundings. Kung meron ka bang ma-identify na minerals sa surroundings mo. Kasi di-discuss ko kung paano mo ba malalaman kung mineral ba yung natagpuan mo o hindi. So, a mineral possesses the following qualities. 1. It must be solid. 2. It must be crystalline, meaning it has a repeating arrangement of atoms. 3. It must be naturally occurring. 4. It must be organic. 5. It must be specific. It must have a specific chemical composition. So, ito yung mga kailangan mo bago mo masasabi na yung natagpuan mo, is it mineral? Crystalline. Minerals are crystalline. Solids. A crystal is a solid in which the atoms are arranged in a regular repeating pattern. So, ito yung crystalline solid. Kung mapapansin mo, intact yung mga atoms. Talagang walang space. Sobrang, dikit-dikit sa isa't isa. Kaya sa solid. In fact, yung table, yung cellphone, yan, yung mga solid na bagay. Pareho lang sila ng structure ng isang crystalline solid. Ganito din. Dikit-dikit yung mga atoms. And if you want to know kung ano yung itsura ng sa tubig, tanggalin mo yung violet. Yan yung sa tubig. Tapos gusto mong malaman kung ano yung sa hangin, tanggalin mo yung violet. Tapos paghiwa-hiwalay mo yung green. Punuin mo itong monitor na to, yung green. Paghiwa-hiwalay mo. Yan yung sa hangin. So, konting trivia lang. Naturally occurring. Natural processes, those that occur in or on Earth, makes mineral. A diamond created deep in Earth's crust is a mineral, but the diamond made in a laboratory by humans is not. So, hindi porket pasok ka na sa solid, as crystalline, is mineral na siya. Because there are crystals that are man-made. Ginagawa siya laboratory. In fact, wala ka naman, rare lang yung mga diamonds na nakukuha. Kasi saan ba natatagpuan yung diamond? Saan ba nga ba natatagpuan yung mga diamonds? There are different types of diamond, and some of the diamonds are located in the volcanic tube. So suicide ka muna bago mo makuha. Chemical composition. Nearly all, 98.5% of Earth's crust is made up of only 8 elements. Oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And these are the elements that make up most of the minerals. So, ito yung mga i-consider mo. Okay, sige. Sabi mo kanina, crystalline. Tumpak, solid siya, tapos crystalline siya. Tapos, naturally occurring siya. Tapos, i-consider mo pa yung chemical composition niya. Kung meron ba kung present ba sa kanya yung oxygen, or kung hindi man, silicon ba, or aluminum ba, or iron ba, calcium ba, sodium ba, potassium, or magnesium. So, yun yung mga kailangan mong i-consider before mo sabihin na yung natagpuan mo is a type of mineral. So, we have these qualities, and meron din naman tayong primary physical properties ng isang mineral. One is color. There are various types of color present in minerals. So, isa yan sa mga kinoconsider ng scientists, the color of the mineral. 2 is streak, the color of the mineral's powder. The color of the mineral's powder is iba sa color ng mineral as a whole. So, magkaiba sila. Isa din yun sa may consider mo. Luster, the manner in which light reflects from the sun. The manner in which light reflects from the surface of a mineral. So, yun, no. Mapapansin mo ba sa isang laboratory if they will examine a certain type of mineral, let's say, may mga ginagawa silang nilalagay nila sa isang room, and then may ilaw dun may obserbahan sila. Hindi natin alam kung anong topic dun kasi hindi naman yun yung major ng profession natin, pero may mga tawag dun. So, density, mass per volume, typically reported in specific gravity, which is the density relative to water. Alam ba natin yung gravity? Ano ba yung gravity? Alam ba natin kung ano yung gravity? Alam ba natin kung ano yung density? So, density is mass per volume. Mass over volume. So, kukunin mo yung mass, i-divide mo sa volume. Yan yung density ng isang mineral. So, isa yan sa mga i-consider mo. Cleavage. The mineral's tendency to break along planes of weakness. So, tendency yan ng isang mineral. Ang gagawin dyan ng isang scientist sa lab, maggagawa sila ng research. And gagawin nila, titest nila kung ano yung maximum tendency ng itong crystal na to na magbe-break siya. Marami silang gagawin dyan para ma-determine nila kung anong point siya magbe-break. Fracture, the pattern in which a mineral breaks. So, ito yung fracture. Alam natin yung bone fracture. Ito naman, mineral fracture. Mineral fracture is the same as bone fracture kasi ito yung linya. Saan yung pattern na magbe-break siya. Diyan siya magka-crack. Baga, pag nilagyan mo siya ng force. Hardness, what minerals it can scratch and what minerals can scratch it. Ayun, parang quotes. Ano yung mineral na magagasgas niya and ano yung mineral na makakagasgas sa kanya. Ganon. Isa din yun sa mga i-consider mo. Hardness ng isang mineral. Kasi hindi porket, ayan, nakikita na ako ng ganito, tapos magkaitsura sila ng diamond, magkakulay sila. Feeling mo ito diamond din, tapos ito diamond din. Hindi mo alam kung baka magkaibang mineral yun. So, ito yung mga ginagawa ng mga scientists. Ito yung mga kinoconsider nila to identify anong klaseng mineral yung natagpuan nila. So, yun yung end ng lesson natin. And this is just the introduction of our topic, which is Earth and Space, a field of science. So, this is an interesting topic. So, I hope madami tayong matututunan.